This is Andy Paroff, Boxing Social, out here in Saudi Arabia, and I'm joined by the head of Sky Sports Boxing, Adam Smith. Adam, how you doing?
Very good, thank you, Andy. It was a great week in Vegas. We were just talking off camera. Fantastic to see a really interesting fight, at least at the end of it. It was a great card, actually, and a really interesting fight at the end with Luis Ortiz sort of masterminding his way to winning the first 5-6 rounds, and then you never know with Dillion, do you? That incredible power and phenomenal shot, and just sent again like he did 2 weeks before AJ Ruiz won. He sent shockwaves around the boxing world, so he's done it again, Deontay. Now it's up to these two to follow suit. So we had a good week in Vegas. We've had a great show in Monaco. Really enjoyed that. Plenty of action on that, laced with action actually. And now we're here in Saudi Arabia. Looking forward to a really fascinating fight week with the biggest fight of the year, the biggest rematch of the year in store here in the desert on Saturday night. We can't wait.
Move on to this card and the headline fight, Ruiz Joshua 2. Starting off with AJ, the Brit, coming over. How do you expect it's going to change with that difference in mentality this time around? He's got to try and win those titles back. It's not something he's had to deal with in his career so far. What's your understanding with how AJ has coped with that through camp?
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because I was in Vegas with you, so I wasn't at the media sort of workout in Sheffield, where there's quite a lot of anger and quite a lot of sort of strong quotes come out from him. Bow to my feet, and you have to accept me when I win. And it was a different sort of a fighting man's talk really, and that's obviously the place he's in. He's been surrounded by his sparring partners this time. They brought a lot of great sparring partners in, and they've become a bit of a unit, I understand, which is very much like Vladimir Klitschko, Lennox Lewis used to have their camps with fighters around them. Well, I think that'll be a different sort of mentality for Anthony Joshua. He's always had his people around him, his friends, the conditioners, the trainers, the people that work for him, his business. But to actually have a sort of set of fighters around him, I think is a really good sign. Obviously, he's brought Angel Hernandez in. He's brought someone different in, and that's I believe working really well under Rob. And it's a happy camp. I think that they've lost the weights. They've made him a bit lighter. I think that it's all about boxing, and I think psychologically it's so important. Mentally getting him right, as you say. First time he's back to being a challenger, but he was when he fought Charles Martin, and he's been through different. The Olympics, he's been through different sort of ups and downs as well, Anthony. He's had losses in his amateur career, he's had to come back from those. And he's had difficult nights. Vladimir Klitschko was a tough night. First couple of rounds of the Alexander Povetkin night were really tough. So, he's very strong mentally, I think. I think he was shocked like we all were with what happened in June. But if he can sort of wipe that and go back and sort of almost like start again and get back to using his physical attributes properly and getting that jab working, and he could exact revenge here. However, obviously we know Andy Ruiz has had a much longer to prepare. He's the champion. He's done it once. He'll believe very strongly he can do it again. And he knows that he's got a style that can really frustrate Joshua, especially with that hand speed and the body shots where I'm sure he's going to try and throw. So it's another terrific one, Andy, because you're looking at how it's going to unfold, and can Anthony Joshua outbox him for 12 rounds, or will Andy Ruiz get inside him and rough him up again? Will AJ actually look to hurt him in the first half of it and try and sort of almost soften Ruiz up, so Ruiz is panicking and comes in a little bit gung-ho. It's a really interesting fight, and there's a lot of ways of looking at it, and I think the great thing is it is unpredictable again. I think everybody bar Team Ruiz and one or two smart fellas picked Andy Ruiz to lose, and lose dramatically last time. AJ was going to win in 4, 5, 6. It was a question of when. Even Joseph Parker on the day of the fight told me, watch Ruiz. He's a really, really quick guy. Even he thought Anthony Joshua would find a way. Now people are split, because immediate rematches can often go the same way, can often go more dramatically. But as we know with Lennox Lewis against someone like Hasim Rahman, they can go very differently. So you can't predict it, and that's what we love in boxing.
At the beginning of your answer there, Angel Fernandez and Joby Clayton, two guys have been brought into the Anthony Joshua team. What do you expect that he's not only been working on, but we should see differently from him on fight night? What does he need to do differently to try and cope with Andy Ruiz's style to give himself the best chance on being successful?
I don't believe the conspiracy theories about what happened to him before the fight last time. I think he got beaten and that was that. But I watched the first fight back again, actually just before I went into studio for Monaco. And you look at the ring walking, you look at the massaging in the ring beforehand, and look, AJ can be odd in the ring sometimes before a fight, but I think what you do know is he's got to be absolutely razor sharp focused from the opening bell. That's the key. For me, he didn't throw enough jabs, he didn't throw any uppercuts. Against a smaller guy, aren't they the weapons? I'm sure he's watched back what Vladimir Klitschko and Lennox Lewis and those guys who are the same sort of shape and size, and also the guys that have had to come back from crisis, from losses. And Rob McCracken's a great trainer. I know he's had a lot of communication with Vladimir Klitschko, as well as you said, the new guys that have come in. So there's a lot of people helping him now. Is that going to be too many people? Is that going to be too much to digest in just a few weeks? Or he's a bright guy, Anthony. Will he have just taken it all on board, and he'll be looking to utilise that in the best possible way? And I think you will see something different with him. I think you'll see slightly lighter on his feet. I think you'll see utilising the jab more and using that distance. It's all about distance, this fight, and I think he can make it simpler for himself. It might not be as dramatic or as exciting. Can he do that though for 12 rounds? Ruiz has only got to get him once or twice and trouble him, and then you could see the old red mist coming down. So we don't know, which is the compelling part of this weekend.
Throughout AJ's career, from the moment he turned over as a professional after his Olympic success, he's always had pressure on him when he went on to win the world title in only his 16th fight, the Klitschko fight and everything else that followed, etc. The pressure's continued to build on him. Do you think there's going to be less pressure on him going in there with Ruiz on Saturday, or do you think there's more pressure on him?
Way. I think there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders, and it's how he deals with it. He's obviously dealt with it by coming out fighting, saying, look, I'm going to knock him out, I'm going to win, you're going to have to give me the respect afterwards. That's the way he's taken it. It'd be really, really interesting to see how he is today, tomorrow. He was so cool and calm in New York. He was, do you remember when he was doing the open workout down in Wall Street, and he was, talking to the fans, and he was right amongst them? Will he be like that? It's a different setup here. They're going to be, obviously he's a long way from home. He's going to have British support, but it's a very different buzz this week. It's going to be very much focused on the actual fight, and it'll be really interesting to see what sort of mood he's in. Will they both be very relaxed and chilled as they were in the States? I remember him on the Monday, this time in the States on fight week, when Andy Ruiz turned up earlier, and he said, came up to me, he said, "Where's AJ? Where's my friend?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Where's my friend? I love AJ. I want to give him a high five." You know what? You can look back at that and think, was he just, playing that role? But actually, he's a nice guy, and AJ's a nice guy. So will we see that this week, or will we see more of him saying, "Look, this is what I'm going to do"? Because mentally, he might be in that zone now. It will be fascinating to see how the week unfolds, but he has to be absolutely on his game, and I'm sure he will be. There's massive pressure, Andy, on his shoulders. Whether he likes to admit it or not, there's massive pressure. He can say that he wants to fight on and for the next 5-6 years or whatever, but if he loses dramatically, it's going to be a mountain to climb coming back. Of course, he can come back to England, he can rebuild against the decent heavyweights, but suddenly the talk of the Wilds and Furies, if he gets beaten in a similar fashion again, are going to be gone for a good while, and then that will be a real test of how his character comes back. One defeat, fine, a second in a row would be hard, but if he wins and he gets that revenge, he's straight back into that sort of talk again. So it's so important. But let's not just look at Anthony Joshua. Let's look at Andy Ruiz. He's the one that shocked the world. He's the one that's won it. He's seen the 15 minutes of fame, the stories of Buster Douglas, of Hasim Ratman, who'll be around him this week with Michael Hunter. He's admitted he lost it before that fight. Andy's kept cool. He's kept humble. He's trained. He's ready to do it all over again. He's got masses of carrots ahead of him if he wins this. Plus, of course, he's with Al Heyman. They've got all the heavyweight belts at the moment, and they'll want to keep it that way. So Andy Ruiz he won't be feeling as much pressure as Anthony Joshua. I think he'll be wanting to take those belts back and prove that it wasn't a fluke. He's been battling the odds since he was 6 years old, Andy Ruiz. He'll be battling them again.
You mentioned Ruiz. I was about to come on to him. A lot of people seem to not really want to mention, or not necessarily that, but haven't mentioned the fact that last time out he only had 5-6 weeks to prepare for AJ. Now he's had a full 12-week, if not more, of a camp to prepare. How significant could that be for Ruiz? And how much better of a version could we see from him on Saturday?
I don't want to give too much away, but I saw him in LA and I didn't see him train, and he said a few things to me off camera, and I'm not sure a long camp necessarily suits Andy Ruiz. So I think he's been doing it in his own way. I think he's been doing it hard, then soft, then hard. I don't think he's been going full out for the 12 weeks. But then again, I don't think Andy Ruiz will be much different. I think he might be a slightly lighter if he's had those extra weeks. But you got to remember he had a fight and then he went straight into the next 5 weeks. So I don't think it'll be dramatically different. He'll have had longer to think about how he's going to go about the task again, and longer with Manny Robles to work out what he needs to do a second time round. So I think that's the more important thing. I think the Andy Ruiz who I saw 3 or 4 weeks ago, or the Andy Ruiz you see tonight, or the Andy Ruiz that fights on Saturday night, will be the same physical fighter. I think that it doesn't really matter. I think he's a fighter. I think he's always been that. He knows what he is. He'll still be quick. And I think he'll be able to throw a lot of punches and be dangerous every minute he's in there. He's not a one-punch knockout artist, but what he does is he's so quick, and he get for a heavyweight, and his body shots are totally underrated, undervalued, and that's a key area for him. So I think they'll have worked tactically on a lot of things in this camp. Andy will be ready and he'll be right.
To move away from the headline fight onto the undercard, Dillian Whyte returns after his ongoing situations away from boxing. What are your thoughts on his return fight against Marius Vac?
Look, I mean, it's good to have Dillian back. I mean, he's obviously gone through a very difficult time outside of the ring. We don't know what's going to happen. No one's heard anything. It's a bizarre situation, and until that happens, we wait. But we welcome Dillian back because he's obviously licensed to fight. He's not been suspended by anybody. He fights, so off he goes, and he'll fight on Saturday night. It'd be good to have him back because we've missed him. He's been a great heavyweight over the last 2 or 3 years. He's fought pretty much everybody apart from having that sort of world title tilt which he so craves. So yeah, let's see him back in a ring. Let's see him getting back to what he does best. It's a fight he should win, but it's a tough old campaigner in with him, and it's a great heavyweight feel to the night. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Dillian back. Povetkin Hunt is a great fight. It's a fantastic clash of styles. The younger guy, the older veteran, the one that can really hit a heavyweight, the one that's sort of a lighter heavyweight, and it's got everything, hasn't it, that fight? So that's a perfect hors d'oeuvre. Plus, Hrgovic and Molina. Molina's camp when we were in Vegas were very, very confident that their man's going to upset the apple cart. I think even Tom Little's found his way onto the card. I mean, there's plenty of heavyweights. It's going to be a great night, and it's a great heavyweight sports day and evening back home in the UK because we've got the Manchester Derby, and then you flip over and you've got on Sky Sports box office an incredible night here, and it's not a late night. We've got to remember that it's 8:30, 9 o'clock the main fight, so it's a UK time. Here it will be midnight, but the UK time, it's the perfect time for kids to stay up, for fight fans and casual fans to get round. It's a wonderful day. You've had sport all day. You finish it off with the heavyweight world championship, property of course of your man Andy. It's an Andy like you, Andy Ruiz Jr. Will it be Andy Ruiz Jr. property come December the 8th? Who knows?
My final question, Adam, is something which I'd asked you about in Vegas when we was at Wilder Ortiz, the pay-per-view prices, etc. I know most people will buy it on the Friday or the Saturday night itself, but what have the initial indications been with regards to purchases, do you know? I
don't, actually. I've been on the road, I've been in Vegas, I've been doing the Monaco show. I don't know, I'll expect that it will be strong. We're looking forward to a big night. I'm sure every boxing fan and every casual sports fan come Friday, Saturday will want to watch Ruiz AJ2. It's one of those big nights. It was such a dramatic night in the Garden, and it was at 4 in the morning, remember. This is prime time, UK time, on a Saturday night. I'm sure a lot of people will want to be involved, and we'll be hoping to give them a fantastic, super show, as we always do, the build-up all week, and a bonanza on Saturday night here in Saudi.
Well, Adam Smith, as always, I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man, so thanks for speaking to myself on Boxing Social. Go get yourself some rest.
Thanks, Andy. Cheers, mate. Thanks.
Cheers, Adam. Thank you.